Did Chair Powell speak today? Yes, he did. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Daily Update. Late after the close, I wanted to see if these markets would push to 2,600, and yes, indeedy, they got up to our levels, and now we have to look to see how we want to react to where they are. They've now achieved the levels we talked about all week. As we said from the beginning of the week, we expected a rally. We've got the rally, fueled by our good friend Chair Powell, who hates free markets. You know, you'd have thought a guy like that would have liked the free markets from where we came from, but I guess kind of when you get into that dovish territory, when you become part of the bubble building Fed, you become another bubble builder. And I think that's what we're seeing right here. But again, we're not saying that this is exact top yet. We now want to see the action. We've seen a big rally as we saw overnight. Futures were down significantly again overnight. And of course, we saw a monster rally pushing them up right to resistance. So now the real question here is how are they going to react? And that's what we'll decide. We'll see either tomorrow or over the next couple of days what we're going to look to do here. Our first inclination is to look to sell rallies now, but I want to make sure that we're going to fail at these levels, and we'll be watching very closely to look for at least a short-term failure. Expect some selling. I can guarantee there'll be a sell-off in the next day or two. Okay, so the question is how we're going to play it, what we're going to look for. But we've reached our objectives on the rally side of the market for the first part. So let's see how the action we get from here. In the meantime, you saw all three major indexes up. The NASDAQ was exceptionally weak, but somehow rallied all the way back to actually still be at least as strong, if not stronger than the other indexes. So that's something that we're going to keep an eye on. The Russell's remaining strong, which is, again, those are bullish signs. When the Russell and the NASDAQ are strong, those are bullish. And the VIX, again, remains weak as it pushes its way back down, maybe possibly going as low as 15. So we'll keep a close eye on these things. In the meantime, gold continues to churn between 1280 and 1300. Again, I don't know how much clearer to make it. We went down to 1280. Everybody got nervous. I said, look, that's where you want to be a buyer. And we got up to the mid-1290s, and we're pulling back a little bit lower today. Bonds look like they have definitely topped. We see interest rates rising, which is interesting when you've got a dovish Fed. And with all the fear going on and the potential of Fitch downgrading the United States debt, but here you go, interest rates rising a little bit of a pullback on the bonds, and they looked much higher this morning before closing. In fact, they lost almost a full point in value from top to bottom. So that looks interesting to see. You've got the grains are under a tremendous amount of pressure today. I think that's just a buying opportunity. Again, I think when you see this overall bullish sentiment going into the markets, going into equities, I think that will soon change, and the money will flow back into the grain markets. Meats were kind of mixed. Pretty laissez-faire, kind of quiet, not much going on. Oil managed to be down and rally back. It looks like oil is probably going to push to 55. That would be our target now to be a seller. Now, I still think we get to the high 30s at some point. But again, the market changed. And I think one of the things we have to remember as traders and investors is when something changes, you have to be able to change with it. So you don't want to be stubborn and say, well, it's going to the high 30s. Right now, it looks like it wants to rally a little bit higher. So why not take your profits and let the market go and then look for a new spot to enter? That's one thing we have to remember is we take profits when we can, and then we look for a new entry if we have of the same opinion. But in the meanwhile, so you've got a lot of things going on, but more of this, again, is about the free money Fed, okay? Again, it's hard to believe that Chair Powell could be this way, but he became a free money guy. Like, it must have taken lessons from Bernanke, Yellen, and Greenspan, because he just wants to continue to build up this bubble. But volumes have been extremely light, which would be a concern if you're a real bull. That would be a little bit of concern. Now, one thing you have to remember is it doesn't mean that the market's going down tomorrow because the volume's light, but the rally does not have as much conviction as you would like to see, as it's really attracting a lot of new money. This is to exactly what we thought it would be, which is the beginning of the year. It's the beginning of the quarter. All those guys who dumped out at the end of last year are now chasing the market back up again. I expect to see this month a repeat almost of last year's January, where at the end of January we made a blow-off top, and of course the markets collapsed. And I would expect to see that same kind of pattern repeat itself here. Now, again, I can't say when it's going to happen, but we'll have a pretty good idea of when it's going to start to happen and when we're willing to get short this market, and that point is not yet, okay? So let's not be in a hurry. Don't try to be the first one in. In trading, you don't have to be first. You want to be right. So let's not say that the top is here yet. We have a good reason to believe the top is in, but let's wait for some more confirmation. If you miss a couple of points, what is the big deal? That's one of the things you have to remember. I think you're going to start to see the bonds are going to get away from the Fed. I think the bonds are going to fall heavy here, and that's going to push rates up, which is going to create even more havoc. And of course, their manipulation of the dollar, we're looking for the dollar to take off from here. It did break down some key support, but I think that's going to be it's going to turn out to be a false breakout to the downside, and we're going to look to be a buyer back on the way back up. So again, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of mixed signals being sent by the market, but the keys that we'll be watching are the VIX, the volume, and the NASDAQ and the Russell for sure to determine whether or not we are actually turning and going to see higher prices than even from here, or if this is going to be the end and it's exactly what we thought it was going to be. So that's really the key of watching right here. Again, you can't fight the Fed and you can't fight the tape, so make sure we wait for a solid footprint before we jump in recklessly, because that's one of the big problems that people have and traders have, is they get too reckless because it's their opinion. This is it. Well, we've met our first objective. That's all I'm going to say here. We will look to be seller, and right now I would lean to being the short side. And as you know, we talked about we were long since Monday. So that's where we are, and that's where we stand right now. But we're looking, and we got an itchy trigger finger to go ahead and sell into this market, but we want to make sure that at least we have what we can consume or configure to be an edge in this market. In the meantime, the cryptos got clobbered today. Again, a lot of that's got to do with the Fed. You know the Fed hates the cryptocurrency market because it will destroy the Federal Reserve. So in the meantime, be careful. If we see something tomorrow, we will do a special midday update or mid-morning update if we see a reason to get involved. Otherwise, we'll see you on Bubba's Bottom Line over the weekend. In the meantime, if you'd like to get a hold of the book, Gold is a Better Way, from my friend Adam Barata at Advantage Gold, just not email me, but go to BubbaTrading.com/gold. And if you'd like to help out our high school program, go to Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great Friday. If there's something to do, we'll update. Otherwise, we'll see you over the weekend with Bubba's Bottom Line. Have a great day, everybody. See you later. Thanks.